Hi people, welcome to the channel. So with the Comrades Marathon done and dusted, I'm here with a quick update about my next big running adventure, which is a little unexpected to say the least. And when I say big, I mean long, because in a little over a month, for only the second time ever, I'm going to be taking on a 100-mile ultra. That's right, I'm going back into the triple-digit mileage territory at the Berlin Wall 100 miler. And it's all because of a conversation I had at the Comrades with a guy called Matthias. Now, my last and only 100-mile ultra was at the Centurion Running Thames Path 100 back in 2017. I finished that in 26 hours and 5 minutes. I missed out on the sub 24-hour belt buckle, and I've always thought about going back to the 100 miles to see if I can get the distance done in a day. But if you've ever run 100 miles, you'll know that it not only takes you to a very different place, but it's a very painful thing to do. It's different from other distances. And I've been waiting for the right moment or the right race to entice me back into that huge battle against the darkness and the mental demons. Not quite been ready. Then while at the Comrades, I got chatting to Matthias, who told me about the Berlin Wall 100 miler, and it sparked my interest. The wall race leads along the former inner German border. It's 100 miles around western Berlin. Runners come from all over the world to run where the wall once stood and stretch for miles, separating east from west for 28 years, dividing a city and a country. Now, the race commemorates this separation of Berlin and its victims in the years between 1961 and 1989. The medal even commemorates one of these victims each year who lost their life among the barbed wire and the concrete. Now, I've been to Berlin many times. It's one of my favourite cities. I've got a real affinity to the place. And the chance to experience its history and see more of it from a completely new perspective was pretty much all I needed to fire up that desire to go deep into the 100 miles again. So last week I found somebody who would swap their race place and I signed up, and in less than 40 days we run. Interestingly, the founder of the Berlin Wall 100 miler created it having run the Comrades himself. He wanted a race that would connect runners with history in the same way in Germany. So I think it's really fitting that I'm going to be treading the same path. Now, what lies ahead is a 100-mile, 160-kilometre course that starts and finishes at the Erika Hess Stadion in Berlin. It runs along the Wall Trail in a big loop around former West Berlin. In a nod to the Comrades, each year the direction changes as well. In 2023, we're going to be running a clockwise. Now, the route is mostly flat and paved. It runs partly through urban areas, but also through some forests and some meadows and fields. So hopefully there's enough kind of variety in there to keep it interesting. Solo runners like me will have 30 hours to cover the distance. And there are 26 aid stations on the course, so one every 4 miles or so to help us get that done. So as I did with the Comrades, I wanted to talk to you about some of the challenges of the 100 miler. Number one, pacing. If there's one thing I learned from my first 100 miler, it's that running 100 miles requires conservative and disciplined pacing. Back in 2017 along the Thames, I ran well until around the 70-mile mark, and then the race absolutely bit me. A bit like the last 6 miles of a marathon or the last 3 of a half, the 100-mile race I think really starts at 70 miles. And you want to get there with something left in the tank. To complete the race in under 14 hours, I'll need to move an average of just under 14.5-minute miles for 100 miles, and that'll include the aid station stop, so that will be the target. Now, next up, it's all about the feet. Last time out, the day after the race, I ended up in hospital. I basically de-hooded my little toe just from the impact and the pressure. It was a total mess. It was also a problem that I knew about but didn't fix early enough in the run. The lesson here for me to take into the next one is the lesson is fix your problems before they become problems. And in this case, I know my little toes are a weak spot, so as I did on the Danube, I'll tape the little pinkies for extra protection, and I'll be keeping a really very close eye on them when I get to aid stations and retaping if I need to. Next up, always a biggie on ultras, fueling. Running 100 miles burns an awful lot of calories. Now, if you consider doing a normal marathon, you might need to top up with anywhere between 60 and 90 grams of carbs per hour. Over 24 hours, that scales up to around 1,500 or over 2,000 grams of carbs in total. That's a lot, and believe me, you can't do that with gels and jelly babies alone. Fueling a beast like this really is just a completely different challenge. So you need sweet and savoury, a variety of flavours and textures, and even your favourite sort of go-to running fuels, I think, can turn your stomach when you're pushing this distance and duration. So you need to sort of mix it up a bit. So I'll need a solid fueling and hydration plan, and I'll be working on that. Now, then there's a lack of sleeps. Now, unless you're an elite runner who's going to be smashing this out really quickly, you're going to run right through the night. So lack of sleep will be an issue. The worst time period is between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. when your body desperately wants to shut you down, no matter what. Now, this is where the mental trickery comes in. The company of a pacer can really help. I don't think I'll have that. But I also like to see the night section as a whole new adventure within the adventure. So I try and tap into the novelty of moving through the city at night. to make it engaging and more exciting, so switch on a different brain. I also might do things like sing to myself, talk to myself. I will do whatever's needed to get through that dark hour bit. Speaking of which, the next bit is silencing the voices. Back in 2017, I was moving slowly along the last 800 metres of the Thames Path 100. We ran right by the Thames in Oxford, and along the side of the path, every 20 metres, there were benches. Now, after 26 hours of running, I knew the end was just around the corner, but I still looked at every single one of those benches, and my brain and my body told me to stop and sit down. In fact, it kind of demanded it, every single one that I went past 20 metres apart, with the finish line so close. I think it was incredible how strong and overwhelming the urge was to stop. I didn't, but I do know that those voices will return in Berlin, and silencing them to keep moving when every fibre wants to lie down and give up is where the real magic happens. For me, I think there's a real loneliness to your plight when these demons come, when you're on your own. No one could really help you. You know, even though with a pace they might try and G you up, but you have to do it alone. It's only you who can get your mind to work to keep your feet moving one in front of the other. It's actually very, very tough, but you have to work out strategies to quieten that pain and keep going. I've done it once, but sitting here right now, I'm not 100% sure I can do it again, but that's what we're going to find out. So then there you go, that's what's happening next for me. It's very soon. I've signed up quite late. I haven't got an awful lot of time to train, but most of my Comrades training will lead into this, so building up to a 55-mile ultra will certainly help. And in my experience, after a certain distance, there's not a lot more you can put into the legs to get ready. A lot of what happens out there will be mental. I will continue to kind of have, you know, relatively low and slow, high mileage weeks in the lead up to this race to get myself sort of finally prepared for it. But we'll go and see what we get. I'm excited to go and run it. I'm nervous, I'm scared. I'm all of the important things that you should be before a race. I can't wait to get out there and have a go at it. If you want to know anything else about this race, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm planning, how I'm going to choose my kit, all of those things, hit me up in the comments below. I'll endeavour to answer those. If you'd like to see any videos on this race or the subject, just tell me what you'd like me to make and I can perhaps look at getting onto that as well. As ever, your support is hugely welcome. Feel free to chip in and say, go on then, get on with it. And yeah, just thanks for watching, and I wish you all the best of luck with all of the running that you're doing and all of your challenges out there that you're all taking on. It's wonderful to see the updates coming in weekly about the different things that you guys are all doing in your own running as well. So keep them coming. Let's try and inspire each other. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon on the channel. Bye bye.